I'll make the comparison between Trump and Biden. It is an outrageous targeting of Trump and protecting of Biden. Because Biden's a Democrat and Trump's not just a Republican. He wants to stir up the pot in order to get us our country back, and the very people who he threatens are the one going after him. That's exactly what's going on. Now, Mr. Trump had no motivation to commit any crimes, period. Jim Jordan's not having much of this. And here, as the chairman of the committee, what he had to say with her. Go.
Why did Joe Biden, in your words, willfully retain and disclose classified materials? I mean, he knew the law. Been in office like 50 years. 5 decades in the United States Senate, chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, 8 years as vice president. He got briefed every day as vice president. He's been in the Situation Room. In fact, you know he knew the rules because you said so on page 226. President Biden was deeply familiar with the measures taken to safeguard classified documents. And Joe Biden told us he knew the rules. Mr. Armstrong said this earlier. Joe Biden was deeply familiar with it. You're exactly right, because he told us when Jack Smith goes after President Trump, Joe Biden says, how could this happen? What data was in those documents that could compromise sources and methods? It's irresponsible. So Joe Biden knew the rules. You know he knew the rules. And Joe Biden told us he knew the rules. So, Mr. Hur, why did he break them?
Congressman, the conclusion as to exactly why the president did what he did is not one that we explicitly address in the report. The report explains my decision to the Attorney General that no criminal charges were warranted in this manner.
I think you did tell us. I think you told us, Mr. Hur. Page 231, you said this. President Biden had strong motivations. That's a key word. We're getting the motive now. President Biden had strong motivations to ignore the proper procedures for safeguarding the classified information in his notebooks. Why did he have strong motivations? Because, next word, because he decided months before leaving office to write a book. To write a book, that was his motive. He knew the rules, he broke them because he was writing a book. And you further say, and he began meeting with the ghostwriter while he was still vice president. There's the motive. Mr. Hur, how much did President Biden get paid for his book?
$8 million.
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure if that information appears in the report.
Sure does. There's a dollar amount in there. You remember?
I don't. It may be $8 million. If that's
$8 million. Joe Biden had 8 million reasons to break the rules. Took classified information and shared it with the guy who was writing the book. That's why he did. He knew the rules, but he broke them for $8 million in a book advance.
You know, that pisses me off for another reason. I've been a #1 New York Times bestseller. 8 books in a row? Nobody's handing me $8 million as an, not even close, as an advance, and I didn't even break the law. Now compare that to Trump. Trump was not seeking anything. He believed those papers belonged to him. He wasn't doing a book deal. He wasn't doing any kind of deal. So he had no motive to break the law. Joe Biden had a motive to break the law, which I think is Jim Jordan's point. There wasn't $8 million being waved in front of President Trump's face to write a book. That's chump change for him. That's everything, obviously, for Biden and most people. And so that's why he did what he did. He broke our intelligence rules, our national security rules, the Espionage Act, for money. For money. He needed money. His son went to foreign governments. He needed money for a no-show job at the Penn Biden Center, whatever the hell that was, in Washington, D.C., funded heavily by the Communist Chinese. He's got 2 mansions, one on the ocean. And yet he was on the public dole his entire life. People keep scratching it. How the hell did that happen? Well, this is one of the ways it happened. You purloin intelligence information. You commit felonies. You sit down with another individual. You share that information. That's additional felonies. You kept that information in unsecured places. Those are felonies. So many felonies, you throw a stick and you'll hit one. But he's an imbecile, they say, so we're not going to charge him. Is he going to give the $8 million back? Of course not. Some imbecile. When it comes to Joe, Joe's mind is very sharp. When it comes to everything else, he's a half-wit. So I'll make the comparison between Trump and Biden. It is an outrageous targeting of Trump and protecting of Biden. Because Biden's a Democrat and Trump's not just a Republican. He wants to stir up the pot in order to get us our country back, and the very people who he threatens are the one going after him. That's exactly what's going on. Now, Mr. Trump had no motivation to commit any crimes, period. And that's a very, very important point you are not hearing by the legal analysts and the other pundits who are talking about this subject. There is motivation, there's pattern, and there's no pattern and no motivation by Donald Trump other than his belief, which I think is constitutionally protected, my opinion, that he had the constitutional and legal authority to remove documents and bring them back to Mar-a-Lago. I mean, Hillary Clinton took stuff. She knew she wasn't president of the United States. Nothing happened. Her husband, he did recordings for posterity. He did recordings too that contained classified information. He took copies of them and put it in his sock drawer. He wasn't charged with anything. And then, of course, we had the case of Biden. It's really disgusting.
For all this and much more, sign up for Levin TV.